What is going on, everyone? Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Clocking Out. I am the man with the plan here, PR, the King of Hearts. And we have a guest speaker with us here today who's going to share some of his amazing, talented art with us. We're going to get to know a little bit more about him, who he is, what he's working on, what he's presenting to us, and what he has going on. Nicholas, how you doing, man? How's it going?
You know what? I can't complain. It's a lovely Monday. I didn't have to work today, so it's always a blessing.
Yeah, of course, man. Especially when you can kick back and relax, man, and not try to go too crazy.
Well, I always go crazy because these are my chances to actually, do some art as opposed to being tired and like trying to force myself into it. So I always take full advantage, right?
I fully agree with you, man. I hear you. Today was a rough day for me too. Like I told you earlier, I was in the hospital. I had a freaking stiff neck, I don't know. I was all this weekend was crazy for me all. So I had to do editing and everything. I think being at the desk is what's really messing me up. I got to be out there, be more active, work out, and do something to get my body moving. You know what I'm saying? I think my age is catching up to me.
Yeah. Got to do some stretching. Make sure you keep your body limber.
It definitely got to drink that water. So let's get into it, man. I've been seeing your work flying around on X. I've seen a lot of stuff that you've done on Instagram. You're very talented. You have a different style of animation or creation that I haven't really seen around there. I like the way that you use colors. I like the way that you express certain things in your art. And it makes me think, it makes me question stuff. It makes me want to be creative from the things that I've seen you do. And I would like to share that with our listeners or supporters or followers, anybody out there that's looking to get inspired by other artists that are on the same path as you. So before we get into anything else, let's get into the first common sense questions that I think we should all get to know. Who is Nicholas, aka Chumwizards? Like, let's start with that. What's the origin story behind such a name? Like, who are you? How did you come up with a name, Chumwizards? What does it mean? Where does it come from? Like, how did it come to be? How did all this just start?
Well, believe it or not, I came up with the name Chumwizards when I was in college. I went to an art school, Art Institute. It was in Inland Empire. No longer exists, but it actually started with me and a lot of my roommates that I had. We were considering, all college students. You want to rah. Everybody wants to, make something, create something. Everybody's gung ho. So instead of it being, just me, myself, and I, it was actually, it's plural because it was, four of us that were going to be involved in this. And we were going to do streetwear, art, music. We were trying to do the whole 9 yards. But I kept the name because as an artist, you're never just yourself. It's always you and whatever inputs you have from the outside world, be it other artists or just all those influences that you have. So I kept it as plural, just as a reminder to myself that it's never going to be just me that makes it, or me that succeeds in creating a piece. There's always something in someone that I'm pulling from. So yeah, that's the homage. And the chum, it comes from just chummy chum dude. He's chill, he's friendly, because that's always what I strive to be. I try to be a friendly guy that's approachable and just a friend to everybody. So yeah, there you go, Chumwizards.
I like that, man. I like how people always have a story behind things that really inspire it, and like the creation behind it. A lot of people would be like, "Oh, well, I just saw this person named this, and I decided to add a baby or junior or what I'm saying, senior or so, what I'm saying, like something simple like that." But I like when people, especially when they are creative, they come up with a real unique type of thing, and it has like a story behind it. Like I'm a fan of things like that. It goes to show that they take a lot of thought into what they're trying to create, and I feel like that's like the first thing that triggers like the foundation of the creation of what you're trying to do is coming up with that name. Whether you're like a painter, a drawer, animator, a designer, a music artist, an actor, I feel like everyone comes up with like this alter ego type of thing. And I think it
Mhm.
always makes it easier for them to tap into that when they want to express themselves. I feel like
Yeah.
it's no different than like Batman or something like that, or like the Flash. Like when they put on a mask, like it's easier for them to be that character of a hero or to express that side of themselves because people really don't know it's them. So when they present themselves as that person, or they display their work as that person, it's something that they can see that people are going to judge it for what it is, and not because it's attached to someone else or who the person is or anything like that. That I feel like that helps it. That helps all like the personal ties to it go out the window, and it makes people more focused on the actual art or what the person's trying to express. Do you know what I'm saying? Do you feel the same way when it comes to
Oh,
that, or do you look
I
at it a
can
little different?
definitely, I can definitely understand that. Because once you put on that persona of being, whatever alias that it is that you're going by, it makes it easier to just, you're in that zone. You're no longer, yourself. You stop thinking about, I got to pay this light bill. I don't have enough gas in my car. You stop worrying about all that because you're in that persona. You're in that moment. Um, but for me, I like to keep that blend. That's where the chum came from. I've always tried to be a friendly person. I've always tried to be chummy. If you want to talk to me, I might not have much to say, but at least I want to be approachable. Um, it started off as just being, a group thing, and now it's a part of me as a person. It's part of my personality, and I just like to keep it that way. My face is my name, and my
I totally agree with you, man. I think it's a big thing too. It's how you present yourself. It's like you said, it's about being real. You know what I mean? Like we were talking about earlier. You know what I mean? It's real recognize real, and it's a lot easier to be authentic and be yourself. I feel like people can spot the fakes now a lot easier than before. A lot of people are always trying to like fake the funk and have this facade, or they even, it's like sometimes they use that thing and they make a false character, not really to express themselves, but to hide who they
yeah.
are in a sense. You know what I mean? So it could go both ways. But what I wanted to ask you next is what inspired your passion for storytelling through animation back in the fourth grade? Like when you told me through the messages when I was asking you things, take us back. What was the part that set the path for you to be like, you know what, I don't just want to do this for fun and because I got an imagination. Like I actually see that I have these stories that I want to tell, and I really believe that it needs to go out there and someone needs to hear it, or that someone would be interested in it. Like what was it that first sparked that for you as a child?
So I've always said it was fourth grade. It might have been a little bit earlier, but I was watching something on, it probably was Disney Channel, but they were talking about the Jungle Book and how that was made. The original animated Jungle Book. And at the time, I hadn't realized that it's just drawings. It's 100% people sitting down and drawing art. So my mom had taught me how to draw. That was one of the ways she kept me and my sister quiet during church. Was, okay, here's a pencil and a pen and paper. Like, draw. Like, just be quiet. You can sit here and draw. And so that I was very used to doing that. And when I realized, oh, I can turn my drawings and these stories that I've been coming up with in my head into an actual film, I just ran with it from there. But more than anything, like I said, it was the Jungle Book. Seeing how Baloo the bear is talking about the bare necessities, and you had Shere Khan and all the different characters, how they just really came to life. And even though they were animals in their drawings, like you really believe, like, no, they're really there with Mowgli. So yeah, that's where it started for me. It was seeing the Jungle Book and seeing how these characters really came to life, and your art and your drawings, it doesn't have to be just a doodle that sits on the page. It can really be something that exists in the rest of the world for everybody else.
The thing that I like about that is that you said that you got inspired as a child. Me, I would think of things like that, and I would be the type that I would think of it, and I guess I'd overthink of how the process worked as far as creating something like that, and it would automatically be in my head like I can't do that. You know what I mean? Like I would see. I remember it's like the same thing with like Disney, and I believe it. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I think it was the Jungle Book that they were showing how they were making, and I remember it was the part where they were dancing in the jungle, and they were showing that scene, but they were showing how the artists and the animators would flip the pages real quick to make sure that the next thing they did was, when I
Was
saw that,
correct.
it hit me so quick that I'm like, Now I understand how they did it. As a child, I always thought they just drew a picture and then like the next one would be just them running. And I never thought that they literally had to draw like every little second of every little movement. And when it got to me and I understood that part of it, that's when it hit me. I was like, there's no way I would be able to manage that. So with that, I wanted to ask you, like, what was there ever anything that you saw like that, or in the process of being like, you know what, I want to do that, that you learned something that made it seem like it was unattainable or that it was going to be too difficult? Or like I said, I looked at it and I saw it and to me it was like, okay, it's too much work, and it made you question if you really wanted to do it? Or was it the other way around, that you're like, wow, that's interesting, I wonder if I could do it, let's do it? Like, what was it that what moment, if you had one like that, was it, and what is it that you did to overcome it or look past it?
I think the big thing for me, I realized really early on, I didn't have the drawing capability that I needed to, work at a Disney or whatever. I would sit and I would try and copy their drawings, and it just never came out right to me, and it always felt like work. But what really got me over that hump was actually making stop motion films with Legos. I was involved in it was called Lego League. It's a little bit different now. It's called robotics now, but it was called Lego League back in the day. And we were at a competition, and they were showing how these Lego movies were made. And I realized it's the same process. It's just with pictures. And I'm like, I got lots of Legos at home. Let me go home and like try this for myself. So I grabbed one of our the old camcorders. They had the little cassettes that you would put in it, and I just sat with my Legos and I would just click and click and click because it wasn't pictures at the time; it was video. So I had to go through and just individually do that. But as I was doing that and experimenting with the pacing on everything, I realized, oh, okay, I understand this now. I understand how to get these individual frames to all fit together. It was it was very piecemeal, and you could tell it was not thought out. I didn't have a script or anything. I was just like kind of flying by the handle as I was going. But the process of just actually playing around with the Legos, and you always have stories when you're playing with your toys. So being able to finally show that to other people outside of me, like carrying it around and be like, oh, look what I can do. It was really fun. It was really fun. So but that was what got me over that hump, was just going at it, no hold, no bars, no expectations, just having fun playing with my Legos and seeing what I could do.
I love that, yo, and I feel like everyone can relate to that. Everyone's been a kid and used their imaginations with kids, or even to stick figured freaking things with pencils at their desk or whatever. So I completely know where you're coming from with that. And even me in my head, I would always like imagine it being, it's now, and I see my because I have a son and I have a daughter, and my son's really into action figures and Dragon Ball Z and all that. And when I see him playing with the toys, I look at him and I always wonder back to when I was a kid, and I'm like, yo, I remember in my mind I can literally vividly see a full-fledged episode of Dragon Ball Z, and it's me just playing. So when I
Yep.
see him doing it and I see him going, I'm like, yo, he's definitely just having a ball. Like, to someone else it looks like, yo, what is he doing? But in me, it's like I fully understand where he is. He's in his own world. He's like, he's having a ball, and I know he's happy. So it's like, and that brings joy to me, because in my head I'm like, yo, as a kid I used to think that people looked at me weird, and now when I look at my son, at the end of the day, I'm like, yo, I know I never even cared, because I was just so happy. I saw my own special TV series or whatever that no one could see but me.
Hmm.
Like, the what I wanted to ask you, and I hope I'm saying this right. What was it like growing up in Tehachapi? How do you say it?
It's called Tehachapi. It's a
Ah,
small little town in between Lancaster and Bakersfield. It's on the 58 highway here in California. For me, it was fun. It was fun. It was where me and my friends could, at any given point, hop on our bikes. We could be, up in a forested area. We could be out in the field. We had a train. It's known as the Tehachapi Loop. It's actually really famous. But we would go, sometimes we'd go out there. Our parents let us kind of roam wherever because it was a small town. Pretty much everybody knew everybody, and we didn't have to worry too much about, oh, you're out too far. It was mostly just make sure you're home before the street lights come home.
but how do you think growing up there shaped either who you are as a person or your creativity?
Um, it really opened me up because I knew everybody. I wasn't so afraid to be myself because it's like, who are you hiding from? You know, everybody. I know right where you live. I know your parents. You know, I know your sister. So yeah, there was no need to pretend or hide or be somebody that I wasn't. Um, and it shaped a lot of my willingness to explore, especially, you know, my best friend Spencer. He was the first person that I would call and be like, hey man, you want to go and do this or that or the other, or he, you know, come knock on my door, hey man, you want to go ride bikes, and yeah, off we go, you know. But it shaped my willingness to try new things. You know, a lot of people scared, definitely afraid of snakes, right? Me, I'm not going to go and pick them up unless and if I'm 100% certain they're not venomous. But at the same time, you know, exploring, you know, different areas, going down those back roads that you normally wouldn't explore. It's something that's I've always kept in heart, that curiosity and that creativity of just going out and being willing to try something different. You know, explore the unbeaten path.
Do you think it was because that you grew up in a small town that gave you that, like, that thing to want to go out there and explore?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Because you know, you never know what you're gonna come across. Uh, but if you don't have that open mind and that curiosity, it just, you know, you kind of get into that rut, and you especially see it as you get older. You go to work, you go home, you eat, you go to sleep, and you get up and do it again the next day. But having grown up in a place where I knew I could go out into a field and I'll never know what I'm going to find, or you know, I could go climb a tree and I'm not going to have somebody yelling at me for being in their tree. It just, it allowed me to continue and embrace that childlike nature of just, I'm going to have fun with whatever it is I'm doing today. And it's carried over throughout my entire life.
That's great, man. That's what I like asking people, because it's me, and I've always wanted to be in that type of environment. But then, like, when people describe it, or when you look at it, or you go visit, it seems like, why would I be here? It's in the middle of nowhere, no, like, and then it's like you say, everyone knows everybody, so it's like. But at the same time, I'm like, maybe that's what I need. Maybe I'm just too, like, used to this, like, city life, hustle and bustle. Everyone's here, all cramped up together, and you know what I mean? I go out to places like that, and all I see or I picture is just big open fields, and like, but whenever you see people in the towns and everything, it's like everyone knows each other. They know if you need something, how you are, how you been. Meanwhile, here in like these big towns, we're literally gathered up in each other, and we act as if no one exists and they're invisible, and just, you know, walk past them, bump into them. So it's like I always think of things like that, and I always wonder if the same way that we get cluttered with people in society and all of us bunched up, if that's the same type of thing that happens with our creativity and expressing ourselves, that we feel like we gotta fake the funk and we can't show who we really are or say what we think and want because we're so worried about the people around us. Meanwhile, there's you over there, and you're willing to just go out there and say, screw it, I am who I am, take me or leave it, and I'm willing to see what's out there. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Sometimes people in like the New York City life, we end up really not leaving nowhere. Like, we'll go to like Florida or something like that and come back, but it's, we're never really like, oh, let's leave, because we feel like we're in New York, we made it, we've been here. But at the same time, it's one of those things. Is like, you know, people like to talk about it, but when you come here, it's one of those things we tell people, yeah, it's nice to visit, but just don't stay, because it's really not worth it. It's nice to
right.
come and take pictures, but sometimes it feels like it drains you of your energy or your creativity or your like your positivity. Like, it could get to you sometimes, and it shouldn't be like that, man. But being that you mentioned, you know, growing up and you know, responsibilities and everything like that, and having that change a lot of things for you and how you think and how you go about life, what were your expectations after graduating with a degree in media arts and animation? Like, did you think the job market would be easier to crack because of that? Or did you find out that maybe you didn't need to worry about it because you can make your own lane and you can do your own stuff? Like, what was your first thing after graduating and having that and knowing that you wanted to take that path and being a creative artist and express yourself in any way that you can? What was it that you decided to do, and was it anything that made you second guess or feel like maybe you should just focus on the basic stuff, like you said, the regular 9 to 5, going to work and doing, and not even taking the risk?
You know, for me, my big thing was I knew it was going to be difficult. Um, but even going to an art school, you know, it's still a very small pool compared to the larger ocean of artists that are out there. because you think, oh, okay, like you're comparing yourself to the other artists around you, and it's like, okay, I'm fairly decent. I understand this, I understand that. And getting your degree, you get a better taste of what you like to do and what you don't like to do, because you never get an animation degree and it's just, oh, I'm only doing 2D, oh, I'm only doing 3D. No, you have to do kind of all of it, just in the process of going through your classes. But it also opens your eyes to the fact that this is not going to be easy. There's people that have been doing this 20, 30, 40 plus years, and you're actually competing against those people. You're not competing against your classmates that are just starting out. So it opened my eyes to the fact that, one, you have to network. Two, you have to have an insane work ethic, because animation is, at any given time, you might be working 10, 12, 14 hours a day, and you're only going to be getting paid the same, but you have to finish the work. And if you don't finish the work, they'll find somebody that will finish the work. There is creativity in being part of a group project, or an actual project with other people, but at the same time you have to answer to somebody else. So it was a lot of going through college and graduating and then trying to get into the actual industry itself, was me learning how to be honest with myself. And in being honest with myself, I realized, yes, I like working with other people, and I want to create these larger projects. I would love to work on maybe a AAA game, or a nice Hollywood movie. But truthfully, at my core, what I enjoy doing is being the kind of person that is indie. I want to have the idea. I want to kind of put it out there, and let people experience it, and then move on to the next thing. I don't want to sit on things for too long, because that's where I find things start to get stale for me. When I'm not allowing my brain to continue on to my next idea, or I'm weighed down by, oh, well, we have to go over the financials for this, or once I get to that point, then I'm like, all right, do I really want to continue doing this, or the love for it has gone out the window? And I think that's where I really came to love NFTs, is because I can have that one idea, and that in and of itself could be the entire encapsulation of my thought for whatever it is I'm trying to do. It doesn't have to be more than that. It doesn't have to be less than that, but it exists, and this is what it is. If people want to go back to it, great. If you want to, see what else I have, cool. But it's there and it exists.
That's that's what I like. You didn't put yourself in a box. You didn't limit yourself. You just looked at all the other different angles of other ways that you can go about it. And it wasn't because you were trying to be selfish or greedy or nothing. You just wanted to make sure that you were in control of the way you express yourself. And if you change your mind, you can change your mind and pivot and do whatever you wanted. And you, like an artist, you're free to create the way that you want. When you start doing it under someone else, like you said, you're limited because you're doing it for someone else. You can't, as much as you would like to express yourself the way that you want and add your own little flavor or twist to it, you can't, because that's not what they're asking for. And at the end of the day, you're being hired as an artist to do what they're expecting and what they're asking. So I understand that. So with that, it's like you realize you got to do your own thing, but still show respect. You know what I mean? And
Yep.
so with that, at the same time, that's why I like you brought up NFTs also, because I feel like that's something that really gives creatives their full control over what they're trying to make. They can switch
Mhm.
it however they want. There's no, excuse me,
You're
excuse
not
me.
stuck
There's
in a
no,
lane either. If,
exactly. You're not
if I
stuck.
want to animate something, I can animate it. I want to do
Exactly.
photography today, I'm gonna do photography.
That's what I love. And that's what I want to ask you next, being that you brought it up, which is the perfect time to ask, is what was the moment that you realized you had to create your own path instead of waiting for traditional opportunity? Like, what is it that really got you to be like, you know what? As much as I understand this is how it goes and I'm being hired and I got to follow the rules and do what I'm being told, I honestly believe in myself enough that I want to take this route. And why NFTs? What was it that triggered that, along with the combination of making your own lane? Like, you, there's so many ways you could have gone about as a creative artist to express yourself, and just go and make another website and just try to sell merch or try to sell your art or anything. Why NFTs instead of all the other things that are out there also?
Funny enough, I actually I do a lot of the physical, as you can see right behind me here.
Mhm.
I do the physical. Um, I originally just wanted to do physicals. I wanted to do the YouTube videos and have my animated shorts that way. It's always still an option, but I chose NFTs specifically because I'm already putting my stuff online. Why not put my stuff online and actually have my stamp of this is my ownership? I own this. If you want to own it, you can. Here's how you can own it. But it exists in posterity on the blockchain specifically because I took the time to make it and I put it out there. And regardless of what people decide to do in the future, whether you want to right click and save it, okay, if you actually go back, you can still see that it belongs to me or it belongs to whoever decided to purchase it from me, and it's never going to disappear. Like that's something that I think is really important as an artist. Doing your traditional work, it anything can there could be a fire today and those are gone. Okay, I have the pictures on my phone, great, those could end up being gone. Hosting on these social media sites, at any given point, they could either A, decide that they want to ban my account, or B, the site, goes down for some reason. We have the TikTok ban going back and forth all the time. So
Yes.
there's tons of creators that are out there that are creating all of these huge bodies of work, but at the same time, they don't actually own it. They put it up there, but the site owns it. The site has the final say in what happens to it. You don't have that problem with the blockchain. I think that was the real answer and why I chose to go the NFT route for a lot of my stuff. But it also allows me to be flexible and do other things too. And I think that's a big thing as an artist that a lot of us need to understand. We are not pigeonholed to just one thing. We can follow all of these different routes. Whatever it is that you want to do, you can make a way to do
I like the fact that you're taking the time also not only to, because I feel like when you're putting people onto a project that you're doing using NFTs or blockchain, you're literally putting them onto something, because of the fact that I feel a lot of people, when they hear NFTs, they automatically think scam for one. When
that.
people hear blockchain, automatically they just think crypto. When they hear crypto, the only two things that they hear that are popular is Bitcoin and Ethereum. And it's just like one of those things that it's popular online, but it's popular to say. It's not popular to teach people. You get what
Right.
I'm saying? Everyone
Uh-huh.
likes to say it and throw the word around, like stock market and become a mortgage broker and buy property and buy crypto and buy all those things you always hear, but you never actually see or hear anybody giving examples of it, explaining why, or going into detail, or just doing anything that I feel is, because I truly believe in all that. I believe in all that stuff, but at the end of the day, I also believe in trying to teach people what you learn at the same time. Because if you don't know anything about it and you really don't know, yes, it's nice to say, but when you're leading people on and you got more than even a handful of people following you based on what you're saying, and you have no clue what you're saying, you're just following the others, that's a problem. But when it's someone like you that you're being creative and you found another way to express and another outlet to let people know about your stuff, but not only that, show them that you're willing to give them a piece of ownership and show them that you're willing to have it in a way that you care about enough about it, where despite what happens, it'll live forever in the blockchain and they'll forever be able to own it. They'll forever be able to carry it here or there. Like, there's so many different things that you can do with it and aspects to the blockchain that utilize it, despite just crypto, despite just Bitcoin and Ethereum and all this other stuff. And what I like is that when it's people like you that you could tell genuinely care about what you're trying to do, it's good to see that, because so many things that get tied into either NFTs or the word crypto is always scam stuff. It's always stuff that's fancy and all this thing that's here for like a month, and then after that you never hear about it again. It's like, what happened? And
Yeah.
then it sucks, because then people like you come along who want to use this technology that honestly I think is the best thing for people who want to be independent artists that are in control of what they're doing and what they're putting out there. I think there's nothing more better than when it comes to the blockchain and crypto and NFTs. I think it's an amazing technology. What I hate is the stigma that it has with it, because of the people who decided to take advantage of it in a malicious way just for financial gain and just screw over other people. So now all these people that came in ways because they liked the way it sounds, came in and believed in all these people that hyped it up, and now they ruined it for people such as yourself or for me, who would like to get into it and would like to do something in an honest way. And now it's like one of those things that not only do we got to convince them like, hey, look, I'm a new artist, check this out. You also got to convince them, if you're trying to do things in a new way with just blockchain or just like a website for NFTs, that you got to convince them to put them onto that also. So it's like there's so many different hurdles you have to go through. And the reason I ask you that is like, I feel like you choosing to do NFTs, that's just like another hurdle you added for yourself. Other people would have looked at it like, you know what, it sounds cool, but it's too much work. We're just going to do this. You get what I'm saying? You said,
Right.
nah, screw that. I'm going to do this and that, and I'm going to be everywhere. You get what I mean? So it's like
Hmm.
things like that is what I really like. And I feel like people need to hear about that, because so many other people would look at it like, you know what, let's just take it one step at a time. This is cool, but I think it's too much, or I don't think it's too complicated, or I don't think it's gonna work, or I don't. But you decided to be like, you know what, I see the potential in it. I think this is really gonna be beneficial. I know it's gonna give me full control over what I'm doing. I'm gonna get on this now. You get what I'm saying? Is
Yeah.
there anything else that you feel, despite for creating your own physical art and just putting your work out there on social media, tying it to blockchain, is there anything else that you learned that you feel is something that many people such as yourself that are trying to be creative, trying to own their art, and at the same time put it out there to people, that you feel other upcoming artists should know about, besides for NFT and blockchains, that helped you to really start feeling like, you know what, I have my own space that I could display my stuff, and I know that if someone gets something, or if I'm sending someone something, they're gonna get it, and it's like it's a legit, it's no bullshit, it's not a copy paste thing. Like, what is it that you would recommend other artists such as yourself that are coming up to look into, or to try out, or to like have faith in, and not just give up in because of like all the stigma online?
Uh, One of the big things, my biggest suggestion is to realize that life is a sandbox, and if you choose to build something, yeah, it might, fall apart. But if you learn how to add some water to it, press it down a little bit harder, apply a little bit more pressure, you can build whatever it is that you want. Um, I found, again, I was stuck in the pigeonhole of I needed to work for a studio. I had to work for somebody else. I had to pay my dues in order to be quote unquote successful, right? But you really don't. If you're having fun doing whatever it is that you're doing, there are ways that you can go about making money doing it. You just have to be willing to put in more effort. You don't have you won't always have the railway system set up for you. You might have to build your own. But at the end of the day, however it is that you want to get what you're trying to do out to the world, there's tons of ways. We're sitting here doing one of them right now, talking to people online and showing that to other people. Um, you know, you could be doing music. You can go to the radios. There's so many different ways. Um, and I think people, especially if you want to be a creative, don't focus so much on how other people have done it. Like, use that as an example of ways that you could do it. But if it doesn't feel natural for you, or it doesn't vibe with the way that you're trying to do things, figure another way around it. Another thing that I definitely had to say this for creatives in general, ChatGPT is your friend, and not just ChatGPT. Any AI software is your friend. The things that you don't want to take the time to do, you can rely on the AI to do it. You don't have to do all the marketing. You don't have to do all the research. You don't focus on the creative, and let AI take off a lot of that burden and a lot of that time, because that for creatives, that's the big thing. You need the time. If I want to make a painting, I got to sit here for however many hours it takes me to do that. I don't want to spend my time. Oh, let me go out and do all this research. No, I just need it here right now. We saw that happen with the internet. You used to have to go to the library and physically, look up the books that you needed, and write down all the information. Then the internet came along, and now you have it right there for you. We have AI that can take all of that massive information. You don't have to go through all the websites yourself. You can use AI to help you find that information and those sources that you need. So you can just cut out all that time and focus more on the creative. But I think because a lot of creatives are scared, um, to touch AI, they don't realize, like, you don't have to use it for the creative side of things. There's so many things on the back burner or in the back end that you need to do, that's what you can use your AI for. Don't worry about, using it for the creative if you don't feel comfortable doing that. Use it instead for, the other stuff.
No, I agree with you, and I totally feel like people should take advantage of AI stuff. Me myself, I like to just focus more on trying to reach out to people and everything. I go online, I try my best to see what everyone's doing and everything, but I take advantage of AI when it comes to things like you said, like it has access to the internet. When I need to look up some proper information to make sure when I'm talking to someone, I know what I'm talking about, or I can ask them a proper question, or if there's something related to a niche or some type of profession that I'm not familiar with, but I can tell that the person is very passionate about. I want to make sure that I ask things in a respectful way. I want to make sure that I know at least the basics of the current events that are going on. It's little things like that, or even like you said, like logos, designs, flyers, things like that. You don't need to worry about going crazy about, because it's like you said, you have the assistance of AI. Some stuff isn't amazing, but the more that you learn how to play with it, you can get exactly what you're looking for, and you take advantage of that. Especially if you're just a one person and you're trying to multitask on all this different stuff, you can focus on the stuff you really care about, like the streaming, the talking, and all that. When it comes to the edit, even down to the editing, bro, they're not amazing. I've tried a few of them, and I'd say I'd rather just do it the old school way. I'm praying to God that there's something that comes out that does it the way I really would like it, and it makes more sense. But even the clipping of videos, even the posting of videos, having people, you can literally record a whole podcast, just the audio, and upload it, and it'll make two fake avatars talking to each other if you're not comfortable. It's like you said, you don't want to show yourself. If you don't want to talk too much, you don't want people, there's ways around everything where you can still find a way to express yourself online and still find a way to make a living off of it, or make your own path, or just have your own space where you can freely express yourself without overthinking as much. There's really no excuse anymore, there's
Yep.
no need to worry about having this crazy budget, of having a huge team, of having all this knowledge or whatever. It's just about finding what you truly care about, and not, it's like you said, not minding putting in the hours and the time and having it feel like you're not even working at all. And you're gonna find yourself finding answers to problems you didn't think that you can figure out before, but it's because it's something you want to do. When you're
Yep.
trying to do something you don't care about, something's gonna come up, and it's not that it's like a hurdle. You're gonna look it up like, oh, that's the excuse. I don't need to do it. Let's get out of
Yep.
here.
Hmm.
You get what
I
I'm
mean,
saying?
how many times have we like got ready to get up in the morning for work, and if you don't really need that money that day, and you got some sick time,
Yep.
oh, everybody's real quick.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm not
exactly.
coming into
Yeah,
work
exactly.
today.
You're staying home. You're like, for what? I'm good. Like, you know what I mean? And
Yeah,
that's
and there's other things I want to do. Hmm.
exactly. And that's the thing. Once you have that mentality in your head and it's really something you don't care about, it's very easy to do it from one day to the second day, the third. But when you're doing something you care about, it bothers you. It bothers you when you wake up a minute late. It bothers you when you don't finish on time. It bothers you when you have to wait the next day to get a certain part, or get this thing that you ordered to finish what you see in your head or express yourself, or you have no internet because the power goes out. Now you can't go live, or you can't edit.
Yep.
Like those things, when you know it's really what you have to do, it bothers you. But when it comes out that the power went out and you have to put in an essay, or you got to send in a thing for your boss, you're like, you know what? That's my excuse. I'm going to tell him tomorrow. So whatever. But if it's really what you want to do, you'll go out your way to ask for a laptop. You'll go to Starbucks, get some Wi-Fi. Like, you know what I mean? You'll
Yep.
find a way around it. And that's why when, like, you can tell when you express yourself in certain ways like that, you can tell that you've been through those situations and you've learned through those firsthand experiences that made you into the person you are, to have that mentality like, nope, it's not, forget it. It's, I'm going to keep going and find a way around it. And that's
Yep.
that's what I really like about that. Tell us about your demons and Magnolia. Like, am I saying it right?
It's Demons of Magnolia.
Demons of Magnolia. I'm
Yes.
sorry. So
Yes.
what's
No,
the
that's
story,
completely
and
okay.
what makes that IP so personal to you?
So, Demons of Magnolia, believe it or not, is actually a lot of the stories of me growing up in Tehachapi, just small hometown. So everybody knows everybody. You hear stories, you see stories of different things that are going on. So I wanted to take that and just really encapsulate not only my childhood, but also the childhoods of everybody that I grew up with, and just kids in general that grew up in the 90s. We went out and we played until the street lights were on. You drank from the water hose. And I think the newer generation, they still have that. Obviously, you still see kids playing. They go to the park. They do all sorts of stuff, but they're connected in a different way that we weren't. So trying to tell the stories of I went out with my friends and we had our airsoft guns and we had an airsoft battle and or using the example that's back there, that's actually how many times did you get double dog dared to do something? Maybe you weren't really supposed to do it, but you did it anyway. So that
Yep.
particular image is one of my main characters, Mikey, who we see a lot of the story through the eyes of. He got dared to break into a school. Now, kids these days, you couldn't do that anyway because it's all fenced up and locked in. But back in the day, you could. You could stroll right onto the campus, on a weekend or something. Yeah, there were security guards there, but it was still possible. So it's my way of capturing my childhood and just the fun and the innocence of being a kid and imagining things and having that open range of creativity and fun that kids don't necessarily have. Like, they do have it, but they don't, because the tech has made things different. So just showing them that you don't need all the technology to have fun. You don't need a big city with lots to do. No, you can go out in the field right now, grab a stick, and have some fun.
Yeah, right. That's what I love, man. I hate the fact, like, it's even out here, and there was only one time, and I never forget it. I got so excited, and I was like, I don't know what it was. I was laughing, I was like clapping, and I was with my kids, and they were so confused. I was driving by, and it was a random house, and it was like on a Saturday or something like that. And when I passed by the house, it was the first time in the longest time, and I don't know why it brought me so much joy. I saw a bunch of bikes just piled up in front of someone's house. And I'm like,
Yup,
no way. And then for
yup.
whatever nostalgia just kicked in. And like I just started thinking of everything. I got so excited. And the first thing that popped in my head is like, the summer's here. I can't
Hmm.
wait. And then I started thinking, I'm like, I'm a grown ass man. I don't even go to school. Like, what the hell? Like, and
Yeah,
then
but you would see bikes like that, and you knew, oh, all the homies are over there.
exactly. That's what
They're
I'm
having
saying. So
fun.
it's things like that that I think about. And then when my kid said it, like, why are you so happy? And then I'm looking down at my daughter while she's saying it. She's on her phone. I look back at my son. He's on his tab. And I'm like, that's why you guys don't get it. It's this technology stuff. And so I could totally relate to that, man. Um, Making this IP and expressing yourself, being creative, doing your stuff your way. What has been one of the biggest challenges developing your IP as an independent artist?
I think probably for me the biggest challenge is not getting distracted. You know, as an artist, obviously I want to do this full time for myself. So I want to be able to sell art pieces, and I want to put my hands in so many different pies. Um, but Demons of Magnolia is so close to my heart, and I want it to come out right, that I found that I can't you can't phone it in. You know, when it's something that's that near and dear to you, it becomes hard to focus on just that and let some other things, say no to some things. I think that's the best way to say it. Learning how to say no to certain things, because there's always something else I could be doing. I could be going and being a graphic designer for somebody else. I could as an artist and creative, there's lots of different options, but picking your lane and sticking with it and sticking to your convictions has probably been the hardest thing for me, because let's face it, we all want to go for the quick dollar where we can, but that long game, it becomes a lot harder when you have to think about it in terms of, nah, this is going to be probably some years before I make any money off of this, or years before anybody even wants to look at this twice. But having that conviction and that drive to do it, that's what I think. Once you master that, it makes everything so much easier.
I agree with you. I think it's a big thing that people. It's. I follow Gary Vee and a lot of other motivational speakers that are like him, and they're always talking about having conviction and everything like that. So I agree with you. I think that's one big thing that a lot of people who doubt themselves lack is having conviction, not only in themselves and what they're doing and their plan. Like it's one of those things that it's just you can't be scared to lose focus on something, especially if you truly believe that one, it's something that you're capable of doing, And I'm a strong believer in the thing that if you get this thought, this idea in your head, this feeling in your stomach that you're supposed to be doing something, I believe you shouldn't let anything push you away from that, no matter what. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's like you said, like no matter what obstacles you came, you never looked at it like, oh, okay, this is a sign I shouldn't do it. You just looked at it like, okay, this is the next step. I just got to get over it. Let's just keep going. You know what I mean? And that's one thing that I think is really important. It goes to show that again, this isn't your first rodeo. It's not your first thing. You've been through it. You know that you got to just take it, analyze it, find a way around it, pivot, and keep moving forward and just move on to the next. Because there's no reason. It's like you can't cry over spilled milk. You can't cry over whatever you can't fix. You can't fix whatever you can't do. You can't do. But that doesn't mean that your goal is unattainable. There's just another way to go about it. Is it going to be more difficult? Yeah, maybe. Is it going to take a little bit more time? Yeah, maybe. But does it change the fact that it's obtainable and that it's there and you can make it? You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
that's the thing that I think is mostly important when it comes to all that. And you said your creativity is a way to adapt in today's world. Can you expand on that mindset a little more?
Yeah, yeah. So I found I guess it's partially just part of my personality. I never, if you told me that the sky is blue, right? I'd be like, okay, I can see why you think the sky is blue, but why is it actually blue? I want to know kind of that reason. I want to understand the mechanics of it, or even okay, the sky is blue for you, but what happens to all the people that are colorblind? You know, that do they see blue? What color do dogs see? It is it blue or is it like a gray? Like is it red? So I've always had a mentality about me of looking at things in different ways and seeing if, especially when it comes to doing things, is there another way it can be done? Can I do this in less steps, or can I do this in a way that's more comfortable for me? Um, Same thing if someone tells you, oh yeah, you want to get to this street, you go this way, this way, this way. Okay, but what happens if I take this street instead of that street? I've always just had that sort of mentality about me because I never know what I'm going to find, what I'm going to experience. It literally is something I've always just kind of had in me. So I've always had a creative mindset of just questioning things. I might not, do things differently than everybody else. I might do it the exact same way, but I am going to question, like, is there another way? Just being creative in my thought process as a whole just keeps my mind open and engaged in everything that I'm doing.
It's like the Rubik's Cube thing. No matter what, you're always trying to find a different combination. Like I like that. What does ownership mean to you, like as an artist, and how are you building that into your career with the things that you're doing?
Well, ownership. Uh, I guess I could answer this in two parts. So ownership as far as a physical object or even a digital object. Ownership where this is mine. I decide what I'm going to do with it. Um, I think that is more of a responsibility than something that I can just willy nilly. A lot of people use that as a status symbol, right? And I think if you own something, you're responsible for how it one affects you and how it affects other people. You're responsible for maintaining it. You're responsible for keeping it safe. So ownership in a sense of things that you consider property is it's an interesting question. I hadn't thought too much about it, but it's always kind of just been there. When you own something, it's a responsibility. That's the simple answer for that side of it. Now, ownership as far as a creative, um, that is just you breathing life into something. Yes, I own it because I'm the one that created it. But when I create a painting, that's just I'm just giving birth to it. That's the beginning of its life. I'm its parent. But once it reaches a certain level, once it's finished and it's out there to the world, can you really call it ownership anymore? Because the people viewing it it's going to take on a whole new life for them. The
Yeah.
people that are talking about it, you have no control over that. So yes, I might be the owner of it, but I'm just its caretaker.
I like that. I get that. I know you come with that. I like that. I never thought of it like that. That's a good way to put it too. You're just the caretaker. I like that. What's one piece of advice that you'd give an artist that's just starting out with no industry connections or no, literally, like they're just getting their feet wet in this, like it's, but instead of being a child and watching it through anything that they saw as a child and building up to that, that they're your age or my age now, and it's not that they haven't been interested, but they finally decided, you know what, I'm just gonna go for it now. What's one piece of advice you would give a person that literally throughout all this time they've always just been curious, but like again, they have no connections, they got no one else that can relate to them or that they can go to that'll be like, yeah, it's a good idea. Like, what would you say would be the best piece of advice for them to take starting into this as an artist with a lot of passion, who knows that they got what it takes, they just need that one person to believe in them, or that one break, or that one opportunity to just show their work? What would you say is the one thing that you would recommend them to always keep in mind?
I would say the biggest thing to keep in mind is that you creativity is a moving target. Um, Even professional artists, there's days that they'll sit down and I mean, they could draw anything, right? Like they've been doing it for years. They've been getting paid to do it for years, so they know they have the skills. But sometimes things just don't come out. You can't get anything out of it, regardless of what you try and do. So just understanding that creativity is a moving target will allow you to embrace all sorts of different things. You never know where the inspiration is going to come from. You never know where it's going to lead you. But if you're willing to just be adaptable to the situation and just flow with wherever your creativity is taking you, you'd be amazed at where you'll actually end up. Like me personally, you had to ask me even 5 6 years ago, oh yeah, are you ever going to be on a talk show with somebody and actually like talking about your work and your creativity? I'm like, hell no, hell no, that's just not me. But as I allowed myself to be more creative and get more in spaces with people that are also creative and just enjoy the energy of the creativity flowing between different people, it's allowed me to be here. It's allowed me to create some of my best stuff. I thought, oh, I'm never going to go back to the traditional art. I'm just going to be a digital artist. Here I am. I do more traditional stuff now than I do anything digital. In fact, it's been a couple months since I've drawn something digital. But it's creativity is a constant flowing thing, and you, as much as you want to direct it in any specific way, it's not always possible. You have to be willing to allow creativity to take you where it's going to take you.
No, I believe you. I think it's one of those things that you just got to go with the flow, and go with the flow, take the punches as they come, and learn how to duck, bob, and weave, and you know what I'm saying. And little by little, you're gonna get hit. You're gonna
Oh
get
yeah.
hit. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna get hit. You're gonna fall. It's all about just getting back up and learning from it, and learning the next time to come to expect it and be more prepared. But I'm a
Hmm.
strong believer in that, though, man. Another thing that I know a lot of people would like to ask, especially if they're just getting started into this, I'm sure you get this question a lot too when people ask you and they're like, "Oh, is it worth it, or should I do it, or I'm thinking about it," or, and it always comes down to one thing. I feel like, especially when it's someone who's not too sure, because they feel like it's one of those things where they have to make a decision between leaving their job and focusing more time. So again, it's about sacrifice. With sacrifices, you have to give up things, whether it's spending time with loved ones or hanging out or being able to make money or spend money by doing other things, by putting your time into what you have a passion for. So I feel
Hmm.
like another thing a lot of people talk about is income. Like, what are some ways that artists like yourself can generate revenue while staying true to the craft, and while in the process of still trying to build a name or a project or a presence?
I would say you've got quite a few different options. You have lots of nonprofits, especially if you're trying to make a name for yourself. Volunteer for a nonprofit. They always need posters or some sort of design. Um, you have things like Whatnot. Whatnot is a great one right now because it allows you to actually be talking with your audience while you're working. So it's really hard. Usually as an artist, you're either selling or you're creating. You usually can't do both at the same time. But when you're doing, you know, it doesn't even have to be Whatnot. It could be any sort of live streaming service. If you're doing that and talking to your audience, well, you're doing both. You're both selling and you're creating, and it allows you to be more authentically yourself, because you're not editing or anything. You're actually speaking to these people. So if you can speak while you're creating, that it's a huge avenue for people. The other one that I would say is it's practice. It's just practice. You have to constantly be in the mind state of you're not the best. You're just practicing. So you're constantly hammering out your skills, because I know for me personally and a lot of the artists that I've known, when we look at our work, we're like, yeah, it's all right. Yeah, I guess it's, if you say it's good, cool. Like I don't think it's really that great. But for the people that are observing your art, like a lot of them, they couldn't even imagine how they would start creating something like that. And sometimes the work speaks to them way more than it ever speaks to you. So if you're constantly practicing, you're constantly trying new things, you're on a live stream of some sort. There's people getting to know you while you're actually practicing your craft, and you're looking for those different opportunities. Like we said saying earlier about AI, ask ChatGPT, hey, what are some local opportunities for upcoming artists in my area? It'll pull some stuff up for you. It'll give you those opportunities that you can apply for, or you can try out. But if you are not willing to, again, you're not willing to practice and you're not willing to talk to people, those are your two biggest hurdles right there. Because if you don't have the skills to do it, and you don't, and people don't know you, like you've got nothing to sell. You know?
Exactly. It's one of those things, and I had it's one of those things that I learned the hard way. Also, I was always like putting out content, but I didn't like. I was always talking about I wanted to do merch and do this and do that to help support things, to do more stuff for the podcast. But it's like I would make little things, but and then I'd never tell anyone where to go to get it because I'd be embarrassed. Like I'd had a crappy website. I was like, oh, I don't want them to see it. But it's like I'd get mad. No one's buying it. No, idiot, you're not
They
telling
don't
them.
know it's there.
Exactly. So it's like I do little things like that and I'd get upset. But then at the end of the day, I'm like, yo, you're not telling nobody. Like you got it. But at the same time, you're so self-conscious about what it looks like and how it's presented that you're not even giving the people the opportunity to support you or show you or critique you to be like, look, I
Yeah,
got it. I like it, but it could use some. And that's when I started learning. Like it's those things that is as it's easier said than done, but at the end of the day, it's one of those things that you're only going to learn from firsthand experience. No matter how many times people tell you, it's like save money, do right, work hard, get rest, exercise, eat well, like all those things. You hear it all the time, every day. But at the end of the day, it's not until you start realizing you're low in your bank account or that you don't like the job that you like. So like you burn the bridges of your last one, and or your health is going bad. It's hard to go up and down the stairs without breathing heavy. You can't tie your shoes without losing your breath. Like then it starts kicking in. Like, you know what? I should have listened to that person. I should have saved some money. I should have went to the bank. I should have. And it's one of those things. It's the same thing when you tell people, look, you got to put it out there and you got to let people see what you got going on. In the back of your mind, you always got that thing of like, they're just saying it because they're my friend or because they like me or because they feel sorry or whatever. Meanwhile, genuinely, they really believe in you and they're like, yo, people need to see this shit. Go put it out there. Like, what are you waiting
yep,
for? Like, there's no excuse for it. And I'm a strong believer in that too. It took me a while to realize that, and it's in the most respectful way, that I am nobody. I'm nobody to sit here and tell myself, you know what, let me wait until I show. Like, bro, you're not freaking Michael Jackson or something where someone is waiting at your every beck and call. Like, oh my God, did he wake up? What type of cereal did he eat this morning? Like, no
right.
one cares, bro. Like, you
Mhm.
got to give them a reason to care. And unless you're willing to put yourself out there and show you are, like, I'm pretty sure you, as myself and many others, whether they're just starting or they feel like, oh, no one cares, they at least got one friend, two friends. At the end of the day, you became cool with that person because they got to see who you really are and they thought you were dope enough to keep hanging out with you another day, and so on and so forth. And you know what I mean? So if that same person, or you get a group of people that are willing to go out there and be like, yo, check this guy out, or look at what he's doing, or yo, he knows what he's talking about, or he's really talented, you should give him a shot, or like, yo, don't do that. I there's another quote that's out there, something like, the lack of commitment that you have in yourself is a disrespect to the people who believe in you. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? And to have even one person sit there and be like, yo, you're doing the damn thing, or I know, and you know, genuinely they care about you, you got to show up. You got to show them, like, yo, like, I'm doing something. For all you know, you're that person's Michael Jackson, 50 Cent, LL Cool J, whatever, like any artist that they look up to be like, you know what, I want to be like that. For all you know, that person's looking at you as that little sign of hope or that light that gives them the thing of like, you know what, I could do it too. You know
Yep.
what I mean? And it's that's what I feel like, and no one's gonna know about it. No one's gonna know because you didn't have the balls to put yourself out there. No one knows your story. Now,
Right.
Billy, Tommy, or Phil, or whoever it is out there, like, damn, I wish somebody out there could relate to me. Meanwhile, you know what I'm saying? But it's you're right, man. You got to put yourself out there. You mentioned that wishing more people understood that artist's journey isn't clean cut. How do you personally embrace that, like, with everything else that's going on right now? I know it's kind of hard because social media makes everything seem like it's an overnight success. You know what I'm saying? And it's
Absolutely.
just like a push of a button, or it's like, oh, I just posted for a week and out of nowhere,
Yeah,
look
I
at me.
went viral.
Yeah, exactly. Like, with all that being said, like, how do you manage to personally embrace that mindset and like really just stick to it and keep moving forward with everything that you're doing to making sure that it's like people understand that there's real work that goes behind all this?
I honestly, the best analogy I can give is just like an art piece. You know, you don't just like sneeze and all of a sudden you have this Picasso painting. No, even Picasso, who when he did his best work, still had to start with the first brushstroke. Still had to start with the first sketch. It never is just like an instant thing. Like, I'm sorry, but unless and if you have a genie, like it's not gonna just appear out of nowhere. You have to take the time for anything. Anything that's worth it is going to require some sort of time. And if you do end up with some major overnight success, I dare you to try and replicate it. You wouldn't be able to because you wouldn't understand how you got it in the first place. So while it might feel great, and you know everybody loves that instant dopamine rush of like lots of people recognizing their stuff, if you cannot constantly replicate that because you don't understand why people like that first one, then you still haven't gotten to that point where you truly are in touch with what you're doing. And it could be anything. You know, you could be working on cars for a living, but if you don't understand how to put the engine together, how which where the fan goes, like, if you don't understand everything about what you're doing, then there's no way you can consistently create the same thing over and over again. And I think that's, as you said, that's where a lot of the work comes through. And I think as a creative in your journey, well, really any creative's journey, until you understand and embrace the fact that it's one step and one brushstroke at a time, you're going to constantly be looking at the next person and going, man, I wish like I was there. I can do just as good as them. Yeah, you sure you can, but they actually took the time to sit down and make that first brushstroke. Meanwhile, you're just looking at their stuff and your page is blank.
Exactly. I agree with you. I feel like everyone's looking for the secret sauce. Like they want the secret thing or the secret phrase to get them from here to there. And they think it just happens. Or like, yo, tell me who I need to talk to. What's the meeting I need to go from this to that? And they don't notice that there is no meeting. There is nothing. What it is just hard work. It's time. It's learning from your mistakes. And it's like, I was talking about this too with a coworker today. And we were talking about how they constantly are always getting promoted or getting raises or moving from one office to the next and everything. And then when he broke it down, he was like, well, I was willing to go to these training classes. And then they were like, oh, those training classes suck. And they're so long. He goes, well, I was willing to drive to the other place. That place is so far. I hate the traffic. He goes, you see right there. That's why I got it and you don't. I was willing to go through all those things and it didn't bother me, but I understood I had to go through that to get to where I am now, to get the
Yep.
pay raise, to get the nice car, to get the easy job position where I don't tell people what to do, where they don't tell me what to do and I tell them what to do. He goes, that's the difference. I saw that and you just looked at it like, oh, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to do that. I don't like to do that. And it's the thing that you don't understand. You thought it was, oh, I'm just going to go to a meeting and I'm going to say a few nice things. And I don't know where I'm going to go from regular employee all the way to head manager, not knowing that you got to go from supervisor and work your way up. You know what I mean? A lot of people don't look at it like that. But when you break it down to them and you show them like, look, you think it was overnight, but the more that I actually put in more work, the more lucky, as you say, I got, and the more meetings I got to get the opportunities to get a raise, to get. So it wasn't just that it happened overnight or I snapped my fingers or it's as easy as it's that I put in the work. And that's what
Mhm.
I think a lot of people tend to forget. They see when you come up and out of nowhere you got 1,000 likes or one of your things go viral, but they forget to go and look back at the videos or the times that no one was even paying attention, but you were still showing up every day, still posting up stuff every week, still announcing that you had stuff for sale and it didn't go nowhere. You know what I mean? Like they forget
Yep.
all that. And then when one day one thing goes viral and then everything's gone, it's like, oh my God, I can't believe it. I was always trying to get something. It's like, no, you weren't, bro. Like last week.
It's like, well, it sat here long enough. Where were you?
Exactly. Exactly. So it's in moments like that that people tend to realize, you know what, there's something to this. I definitely missed something. And some learn, some don't. Some learn the hard way. Some learn ahead of time and they learn from other people's mistakes and realize, you know what, there's more to it than just, all right, I'm just going to post this up, say that I do this, and then just hope for the best. And it's going to happen out of nowhere and I'm going to be in the money. You know what I mean? It's like you
Mhm.
said, people tend to not realize how much competition there is out there
Yeah.
until they start going out there. They feel like, I want to do videos and vlogs and draw pictures and post it up. I'm definitely going to get attention. And then when you do it and you put a hashtag to tag your stuff, and when you click it and you realize there's all these other people doing the same thing, and then you're like, oh, I could do this. And then you realize that you're putting it up once or twice, but then there's someone else putting up 17 a day. And you're
Mhm.
like, damn, you know what I mean? So it's things like that that come into play. And that's what really makes people appreciate other artists. And it gives them a slap of reality. Like, you know what? I thought I knew what was going on, and now I realize there's more to it. I gotta have more respect and more patience, and then and go from there. I think that humbles people a lot more, also.
Yep. And always being willing to learn. The minute that you tell yourself, "Oh, I know everything,"
You lost.
you're done. You're done.
Yep,
Yeah.
agree.
There's always going to be the next person that is willing to learn, and before you know it, everything that you think you know about whatever topic it is, it's outdated. I
Yep,
mean, how many
it's
times have we
outdated.
watched that happen?
Yes, exactly. And especially again, especially with such things, with such technology like Chat GPT and all these other AIs, whatever's okay today and so difficult to learn, by tomorrow it's easier to learn within a minute. It's easier to do with your eyes closed. You don't even got to do anything. You just upload a picture, give a description, it's done. That's it. I'm telling you, I feel like people are sleeping on the opportunities that, especially for independent creators that are out there right now, whether you're creating your own stuff, whether you're using the help of AI, whatever it is. I feel like it's a big mistake for people to underestimate and underutilize the assistance of AI right now, because it could really help you go really far, man. If you have what it takes, but all you have is the issue of not having that backing or someone organizing or someone like, AI can really fix a lot of that stuff, man. But
And you don't have to pay for it either. That's the
exactly
beauty
right.
of it.
That's for
Oh,
now.
you
For
need an extra
now.
employee? They're
Yes,
waiting on you.
and that's the thing, and people are sleeping on that for now, that they're like trying to collect data and improve it. Right now, it's all free, but then I guarantee you, once people are like, oh, I want to try it, right there, it's going to be like everything else, $50, $60 a month and all this and blah, blah, blah with ads and all. People are slacking, man. I want to ask you, how how do you define success now compared to what you thought, or how you defined the success in the beginning of your journey?
Um, I would say for me, success started off being I'm an animator at a studio. Like I would have called myself successful if I could have shown somebody my badge. Like, look, see, I work at CW or any of these studios. I work at Paramount, Universal. That would have been success for me because I've always been a person. I didn't need a whole lot of things. I'm not the type that wants to drive a super fancy car. In fact, I used to get teased a lot. People ask me, "Oh, what's your favorite car?" Money wasn't an issue. What car would you drive? I'm like, Honda Accord. I'd drive me a Honda Accord, and I'd be happy. You know, I
Smart.
don't I don't need the super nice clothes. I don't wear anything really but Vans. I like my Vans. They're comfortable. I enjoy them. I'm very basic, but yeah, success would be saying that I could, I work at this studio. Oh, I worked on this movie or that movie. Success now to me just feels like being happy with the work that I create. If I'm happy with the final product, even if it's not exactly the way I want it, just being able to wake up. and just do the things that I enjoy doing, I consider that success now. Because how many people, I mean, even myself, I still have to go to a 9 to 5 grind, and that's why I love being on clocking out with you. Because, like, yeah, I want to be to that point where I say, I'm not going to that job. I'm gonna
They're
wake up
right.
and do what I enjoy doing. So success to me now would be being able to wake up and every day, just whether it's art today, whether it's writing today, being able to be the creative that I want to be. I consider that successful.
I like that, man. And I agree with that. I think once you find that thing that you love and you're able to do it without question, and it's something that you can spend hours on and it doesn't bother you, and that's how you spend your day, and you're able to go back home and wake up and do it. That's right there, man. That's the life for anybody, I believe, man. Especially when it's something that you know it's what you chose. Like, you know what I
Hmm.
mean? I think there's even a bigger thing of accomplishment, like when it's such as yourself, when you had that vision or that thought, the idea, the spark, whatever it was as a child, and then you grow up as an adult and you reach it and you're able to look back like, damn, you know what I'm saying? Like you could look back at your younger self and you know for a fact you made that motherfucker proud as hell that you went through all that and you made it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Um, what's something about your creative process that might surprise people?
Um, I think probably one of the biggest things that would surprise people, especially other artists, is yeah, what I'm doing is there's a lot of thought process going on behind very simplistic looking drawings, but very difficult to do properly because every line is so important. Like when you make even small, tiny mistakes, like it looks off. You sometimes you won't know exactly what it is, but it's very off. In fact, my favorite illustrator and artist of all time is Bill Watterson. Huge impact on what I do. He's the creator of Calvin and Hobbes, and just to see like his mastery of very simplistic lines. If you look at the characters, they're nothing but simple circles and squares, right? But every single line that he does is so important to the overall image that you don't realize he's thinking in the back of his head. He's probably thinking all of this too. Okay, how exactly is this put together? How closely am I able to squash and stretch these different characters? How is this color going to affect the way the overall composition looks? There's a lot of thought, just a ton of thought that goes on in the back end to make a very simplistic image.
And when it comes to like creating all that, do you ever, because it's myself, and I know sometimes like I'm the type of person that gets a million ideas a minute. Sometimes I write stuff down, sometimes I tell myself, oh, I remember, and then I forget it like an idiot. Um, but do you ever get in when you're creating stuff, do you ever get in that thing where it's like you get burnt out or you get imposter syndrome or anything like that? And if so, like what do you do to like snap out of that? Like what is it that you know that you can either say or you can do, or like you know a trick that might help other people that struggle from the same thing that like help snap you out of that?
Um, so I'd say for me with imposter syndrome, sometimes that can be a hard one. I think just examining the when I feel it the most is usually when I'm trying to be out of pocket from who I actually am. So as long as I am, I'm not trying to be anybody else. I usually don't feel it as much. Sometimes, I might get a slight tinge of it, but because I enjoy creating art so much, it goes away fairly quickly. Like, maybe it's that somebody's giving me a lot of praise, and now all of a sudden I feel like I gotta live up to that hype, right? But as long as I'm being myself, doing what I enjoy doing instead of trying to do what other people want me to do, and just creating from my own passion and love of the craft, I'm generally able to avoid that. But the burnout, though, I found that I get that more because I'm comparing myself to someone else. Because I see what they're doing, and because I know I have the skill to do, if not that, something very similar, and they're selling their art pieces, or they're getting all these views on YouTube, whatever it is. I find that the burnout comes from comparing myself to other people, and feeling like I'm bashing my head against the wall. And it goes again back to being my own authentic self. It's a lot easier to just keep trudging on that happy road of being a creative when you're more focused on yourself, on the internal, and on your own mental, than on looking at what everybody else is doing or comparing yourself to, oh well, they make X number of dollars doing art per year. Why am I not doing that? That's where my burnout comes from.
So now that you said that, how is it that you can separate the people that you compare yourself to people like other artists or creators who might inspire you or help you stay motivated? You know what I mean? Because sometimes I tend to I get those mixed up. Sometimes the very same people I get inspired by or the same people I tend to compare myself to. And sometimes the people who support me and want me to do better are the same ones I just look at and I'm like, damn, you know, it's easy for you because look at you, you're doing this and I can't, you know what I mean? How do you go about separating those two? Because like I'm asking for me personally, because sometimes like I said, I blend them both. And who are some creators or some artists that inspire you, that you look up to, that keep you motivated whenever you get to the point that either you get imposter syndrome or you get burnt out or you feel like you might get to the point that you're like, you know what, maybe I should just take a break right now or not. Like, what is it that gets you to be like, you know what, nah, I just got to keep going, it's a little hump, let's get over it, let's push on to the next, like.
I think the big thing is always having that honest conversation with yourself. Um, because we're very quick to shove things down, especially when it comes to emotionally. And you'll find that a lot of your imposter syndrome and a lot of your burnout is coming because you're not being honest with yourself. At some point, you gotta take those long looks in the mirror. Uh, but the best way I've found to when I find myself like blurring those lines, is take a walk. Take a walk. Sometimes you need to just clear your head. Sometimes you need to stop thinking about all of that in general. You need to just go outside. As the saying's been going around a lot lately, touch grass. You need to touch grass.
Yeah,
Sometimes it might be you need to just go hang out with your loved ones.
Yep.
Do something that is not for you in any way, shape, or form. It might be helping out at a soup kitchen or a volunteer shelter. Any number of things that get you out of your own way and out of your own head is generally where I find you can come back and then be more honest with yourself when you come back to it. Because the next time you sit down to work after you've just been in your head that entire time, you'll realize, oh, I I can just I can calm down. Everything's gonna be okay. You know what? Yeah, maybe I didn't hit the numbers that I wanted to hit this time. Maybe I didn't reach the goal that I thought I was gonna get, even though my favorite person has reached that goal. That's okay. That's okay. If you allow yourself to take the time away from it, and when you come back to it, you'll generally find when you're honest with yourself, you'll realize, okay, what are my priorities? What do I actually want to focus on? What's really me, as opposed to what's me taking on the assumptions of the rest of the world. Because the world is always going to have an assumption for you. Like everybody's got something. Someone's got something to say. Someone thinks something. Cool. Whatever, including yourself. Sometimes you have to learn how to tell yourself, yeah, whatever, go fuck off. You really have to be able to just be honest with yourself, and move on from there. But you asked about some artists right now that I really look up to. I already mentioned Bill Watterson. He's like number one guy right there for me. But some living artists that I really like, Keith Thompson. He was responsible for the art on the original Borderlands. He's done some other movies and games as well, like Pacific Rim. Um, One that I've been following pretty closely in the Web3 and NFT space, his name is Zachary Mohia. Awesome, awesome, talented artist. And I've just been watching him, like, just seeing his transition from like where he started from when I mean the very first day I hopped on and made my Twitter account. When it was still called Twitter. He, he was the first guy I saw his art and I'm like, oh, you're doing something a little bit different. I like that. I hit that follow button. I've been following him ever since. And honestly, just to see the way that this guy has evolved as an artist and how he's been showing everybody like his thought process and what he's doing, That's it. That is somebody. Yeah, his name might not be big yet, but I guarantee you, before it's all said and done, that's going to be a man that people definitely going to need to keep their eyes out for. But there's so many people in both the Web3 space and also just in the professional space, you know, as animators, as creators. Um, Gendry Tarkovsky, the person that did Samurai Jack. I'm sorry, but just a wonderful show.
Yes, I
Wonderful.
love it. I love it. I love Samurai Jack. A big fan of that art style and
So
everything. I love that.
there's there's a lot of artists, and you know sometimes my inspiration can sometimes be a moving target. Um, but I think at any given point, you know, you just as long as you're honest with yourself, and as long as you're willing to step away when it becomes too much, because it will become too much at times. Like let's face it, we're artists, we're creatives. When it becomes too much, step away. Learn how to allow your brain to just let it go, because when you're obsessed with things, you tend to not let it go. You're like, no, I got to figure it out, right?
100%.
So learning how to let it go, even just for a moment, to step away and let it go for a moment, and then come back to it, you'd be surprised how much your perspective changes.
The next thing I wanted to ask is what's one thing you'd want every listener of this episode or any viewer that sees your clips or anyone that sees any of the stuff pertaining to who you are in your art, what do you want them to walk away thinking? Like, what's whether they're a creator, whether they're a dreamer, or someone stuck in a 9 to 5 that's looking to get inspired by another creator, even if they're not necessarily trying to be an artist such as yourself, but just
Mhm.
just someone who wants to see someone else doing something, and that's a good example of hope that it's possible, you can do it, you can make it. What's the one thing that you would like people to take away, whether they hear your story, whether they see your art, whether they just see what you've done and even get a glimpse of what you're working on? What's the one thing that you hope that they take away from anything that you're putting out there?
um, oh, sorry, give me a second.
No, you good.
I would honestly say, for me, it's keep that childlike sense of wonder in your life. You know, it might not be that you're creative. Maybe it's that you might be a lawyer. You might enjoy doing, I don't know, being a scientist. You might, whatever it is. If you have that childlike sense of wonder in your life, you'll find the little things that you can continue to enjoy. You know, it might just be that there's a bird that's sitting on a tree and it looks cool, or it might be the way that two cars are parked and it looks like they're talking to each other. You know, I don't know if you've ever seen cars at night. They kind of look like they're facing,
No.
right?
Yeah.
It's those little things. Those little things will actually make your life so much more joyful when you can just find the little things and appreciate, you know, just them for either what they are or whatever your mind can make them into. If I could emphasize nothing else, having that kind of joy and that kind of, maybe you don't have it all the time, but if you can always tap back into that as especially as an adult, I think you will find that life is just that much more enjoyable.
I agree with you, man. It's finding those little things, man. It's finding those little things. It's not until you start getting older that you start realizing and understanding the things that parents and older adults used to say to you when you were younger, that life is short.
Hmm.
Life is short, man. And every day you start noticing that there's when you have bad days, you notice that they tend to drag. But then when you have good days, you notice that they go, they go, they go, they go. The week goes, the weekend comes and goes, and then you're like, what happened? A month went by. And it's things like that in those moments that you realize that it's because you've been appreciating all the little moments that you've been having with friends, family, loved ones, and all that, and all the memories you're creating. That's what's making the time go by. It's no different than when you find something that you love to do and it makes time seem like nothing. That
Yep.
when you start doing the same thing with the people that you care about that give you that feeling and all that, you start noticing the same thing. And then when you start having bad days, you start noticing you've been focusing on the wrong stuff. You've been focusing that the light is taking too long, that you
Yep.
want to make the work, that you're, and that's you're totally right, man. You're totally right. That's the best way to look at it, is those little things. And instead of you being stuck in traffic and looking at the traffic light, like you said, look at the car lights and make faces, man, and just laugh and be like, you know what, I'm gonna get there when I get there, and it is what it is, you know.
I mean, shoot, yeah, there might be somebody that's on the street or doing something, but because you're focused so much on that light is not changing when you want it to change, you missed all those other things that you could be observing.
Exactly. So much is going around us. So much is happening around us all at once, and we tend to not really notice. And all we got to do is look, man. All we got to do is look. So, Nick, thank you so much, bro, for coming on here. We've been on here for an hour and 25 minutes. I really want to thank you for coming on, giving your time, sharing your story, telling us about you, what you're working on, your passions, your dream, your journey, and how you got to where you are today. I want to thank everybody who took the time to jump in on the chat, who took in the time to shout out, to give us some follows, show us some loves, to share the links. If you shared the link, thank you so much. If you would like to catch up on anything that we talked about this podcast episode, will be going live across all audio streaming platforms of Clocking Out for public playlists, whether it's on Apple Podcasts, whether it's on Spotify, Google Play, whatever. You can also rewatch these episodes and live streams here on Twitch, on Kick, and on YouTube. Make sure that you go and show some love to Chumwizards. Go hit them up. That's your tag on all social medias, correct? If I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah.
mistaken. Yeah.
Everything except for my own website, which I just need to purchase the domain. It's all Chum Wizards. If I'm on it, you can find me at Chum Wizards.
And again, wherever you're listening or watching to this, all his contact information for his social media and all his art and website and stuff, I'll have a description below to wherever you are listening or watching this. And before we get out of here, man, I want to ask you one question that I ask all my guest speakers on here, and you can answer it however you like. I would like you to complete this sentence. Clocking out means blank to me.
Clocking out means doing only what I enjoy when I enjoy doing.
I love that answer, man. Thank you so much, man. Everyone, make sure you go and give Chum Wizards a follow. Show him some love, some support. Go check out his artwork. Keep an eye on this man because he has big dreams and big things coming on here. He's focused, he's motivated, he's dedicated, and he ain't going to stop until he gets to where he knows he needs to be. He's been thinking about this since he was in the 4th grade. My man is ready and good to go. I love all of you. Thank you for tuning into another episode of Clocking Out. Nick, have a great night, man. Thank you for coming by. I truly appreciate it, boss.
You have a good one too. Thank you for having me on.
Take care, man. Have a good night, everybody. See y'all later. Peace.